Hello, did you intend to promote me to panelist? Was that intentional?
There we go. Okay.
State County. We shall get started.
So the first thing up is the oath of office. So you all can do things officially from here. If y'all, you have a copy in front of you, I'm going to try and go slow. I'll just read it out and y'all repeat after me.
Okay.
So if y'all would stand and hand on the Bible, right hand up. I, and state your name,
I, Debbie Avery,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
which are or may be established
which are made established
for the government thereof,
for the government,
that I will endeavor to support,
that I will endeavor to support,
maintain, and defend
maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent
not inconsistent
with the Constitution of the United States,
with the Constitution of the United States,
and that I will well and truly execute
and that I will well and truly execute
the duties of the office of member
the duties of office of member
of the Pitt County Board of Elections
of the Pitt County Board of Elections
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
according to law,
according to law.
so help me God.
So help me God.
And that's it.
Thank you.
All are official. And if you would sign the what we have there, and I'll notarize it afterwards. Do you want to organize?
There we go. Okay, at this point, we need to elect a secretary.
I nominate Debbie Avery.
I second that.
Good job.
Debbie Avey has been nominated to be the board secretary. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you for doing that again. We didn't ask permission.
That's fine. Thank you for your confidence.
The adoption of rules is next on our agenda.
I had a question on this from the last meeting. Did we want to bother with adopting this now, or like we had talked about with the decorum and then kind of including stuff in this, just wait and edit it and bring this back next month?
I'm fine with waiting because there has been some discussion
Mhm.
about whether or not we needed to make adjustments.
Mhm.
And I'm fine for waiting until our
Okay.
August meeting. But that's up to the rest of the.
I mean,
board
and Dave,
members.
that was the rules of decorum where we can potentially amend the language to bring it into effect if we deem it appropriate. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's last discussion. Remember
Mhm.
when we were talking about amending the language to give us some flexibility?
So I mean, would you like to kind of have that like as a policy and this as a standard rules for a meeting? We could do that too.
I think we were looking at y'all changing the wording some, so it
Okay.
fit
Yeah.
our needs.
And Davis sent me the copy. What I'll do, Dave, is I'll get with Derek and then maybe by next meeting, we can, it shouldn't be difficult to add in some contingency language of when it can be, when we can
Mhm.
deem it appropriate.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
So I guess I move to table the rules until the next meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor of tabling the rules procedure until our August meeting, say aye. Opposed? Thank you very much.
And next is the
The.
approval of Director of Elections duties and responsibilities. There haven't been any changes to these. You all have a copy if there's anything you'd like to see changed.
I'm making a motion that we approve.
There's a motion that we approve the
Duties and
Rules.
responsibilities of the director.
for the elections.
I'll second
Is
those.
there a second? These are rules incidentally that we have used in years past. There are no.
Right, yeah. Without
changes
changing your,
to
changing
these.
your duties and responsibilities.
Exactly.
Just keep it, did a good job.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
This is the bishop. Yeah, leave this, yeah, for each of you all this time.
Okay. I'll do that and pass it down. Next on our agenda is the approval of minutes that were sent. They were sent out.
Motion to approve with the correction you made about the date.
Right, and it was a typo as much as anything, and that has been corrected. And what that typo was referring to was today's meeting. It was the wrong date was put in there accidentally. So it's just a date change. All in favor of approving the minutes as sent?
Aye.
That's corrected, you mean?
That's
That's
correct.
correct. Thank you. All right. There. And at this point, we have the director's report, and you guys have been really busy with lots of stuff.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So
Oh, well, the update on the office staff, Katie Peden had left us. And so Laverne Gradney is now moved into her spot. She was previously a clerk. And we have a new clerk actually gone through the interview process. I guess we can now announce who it is because she's cleared everything. So Shirley Whitehurst Gorham is going to be our new clerk. She back in 2016 worked with us as an intern for a whole semester. So and she was actually, I can easily say, our best work study / intern we'd ever had.
oh,
So I
wow.
was happy to see her apply.
Now,
She's
what
going
is
to be
her-
joining us next Monday. She's coming to us quick. Yeah,
That's
Good. And now what is her Shirley Whitehurst?
Gorham.
Norm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
And she's coming to us. We stole her from DSS.
Good.
So a lot of that goes on in the county. But she's gonna join us next week just in time for the move, so she'll work, because right now, kind of jump into that. We're gonna be moving next Tuesday. As of checking this morning, they still don't have the internal office doors, but that's fine. We all operate with our doors open anyway. But we do have the door where we can lock and secure our space. And MIS has already been doing a lot of work getting the audio visual set up, and they're going to be involved on Tuesday, getting us all the equipment and everything moved over as well. So the next meeting will be in our new space.
Wonderful.
Let's see, board member email addresses. Rachel Lee could give you more info on this.
Hey, good afternoon. One of the things that Dave and I have been discussing was creating a set of uniform email addresses to protect your personal email addresses, which I know you currently use to communicate. So after today's meeting, I'll be reaching out to each of you individually and taking you through the steps to get connected with the Pitt County email address. That's going to be your official email address for communications as board members.
Cool.
Yeah. good
Thank
idea.
you.
Thank you.
I get a lot of unwanted email. This will help.
And something struck me this morning is, I don't know if you all would be interested, because you may already have them. It'd be something else that you have to, worry with. But if you all wanted business cards with that email address on there, we could, through the county print shop, just like for what we have, we can have those printed up for you all if you would like. I guess if you want business cards, let us know and we'll take care of it for you.
Thank you.
And then also the I voted sticker update.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so we were able to complete the selection of the finalists for the I Voted sticker contest. We're going to be opening the public vote starting on August the 1st. The public website has been put together. It's just kind of on hold. So hopefully we'll be able to finish our move and then release that August 1st. And we'll send out that link and the public will be able to vote. And then after that, we'll have our two winners selected.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
That's great.
And you narrowed it down to 5?
There's actually 17 finalists. Originally it was supposed to be 15, but we had a tie for that last group of images. So we opened it to 17, and those 17 are going to the public vote.
Okay.
So you're saying you make this available to the public and let the public, okay.
Correct, starting on the 1st of August.
How will you do that? Through the webpage?
So there's going to be a link that I'm going to send out to the Pitt County art teachers. We're also going to send out the link through PIO. We're going to post it on our Facebook page, and then anyone can just copy that link and send it to whoever else that
Okay.
you want to, so that everyone that wants to can participate in the
We've
public
had a
vote.
lot of kids participating, didn't you? That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And other than that, our next meeting, as I mentioned, will be in our new space. That'll be on a Tuesday, not our usual day, but August 22nd, and that'll be at 4:30. The reason it's on that day is because it's set by statute for us to, or for you all to appoint chief judges and judges. There's still some of them we're trying to pull teeth, get them to respond to us. I imagine most of them are coming back. We do have some that are leaving us, but hopefully we'll have at least most of them, if not all, ready for you that next meeting.
At this point, if I'm not mistaken, we have public comment.
Should be 2 attending virtually. It's
Okay.
Jackie Brown,
Brenda and
Brenda.
Minerva, is she?
Minerva wasn't able to make it. So we
Okay.
have Brenda Jones and Jackie Brown, but
Brenda
should be
Jones and
attending
Jackie
virtually.
Brown.
oh,
Okay,
and looks like they're there.
okay, good.
Think. I
Um,
don't know. Do you all have a screen? I see.
we do.
We have-
Oh, you do?
Um,
Okay. I couldn't tell. if Brenda was trying to say something.
Brenda and Jackie, it's great to have you with us. This point in our meeting is open for public comment. And we encourage and welcome you to ask questions, make a comment or suggestion. This is your opportunity to let us know what you would like us to look at.
May I start?
Certainly, Brenda, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I like this space, but hopefully the new space will be even better. My question is about signage for the new space. I missed it if there was anything stated about that. since people are not very familiar with that area, years ago they were, but now because that area has not been used for a lot of meetings other than the training sessions, is there new signage already out there at the new facility?
That's a good question. Dave, what about the signage for the new?
We have a temporary sign. It's actually out in front of our current building. 20 by 30. So it's like poster size that we're gonna have out front with the contact info. So if for some reason nobody's responding to the buzzer to get in, then they can call us. Or if they do get in, they know where to find us, what suite we're in. And then the county should be, like with all departments and like what we have here, they should be putting up some signage there as well. And the plan is to also leave something here, probably get a good poster size and get it laminated, so be rain protected, to put on the door here to show people where we're going to be going.
Okay, thank you.
And have we rescheduled an open house?
We haven't scheduled it yet. I was waiting until we
Waiting
were
for the
definitely
door.
going to be in there. And does it make a difference to you all whether it's before or after your first meeting there? Do y'all want to
No,
christen it
I think
first?
it might be a good idea for us to have our August meeting and at that time establish an open house
Okay.
day and plans for it.
Okay, all right, we'll do that.
That'll still get.
The nice part about this one is on the main highway, so
Mhm.
there'll be a sign out there. People pass by it every day. We'll
Mhm.
know that's where Board of Elections is located. I think that would be
Exactly.
good.
And our telephone numbers will remain the same.
Yes.
Okay, it's good to know.
And we're just moving the offices. We're not moving any voting places.
That's correct. Well,
Jackie?
we're gonna have to move some of the election day polling places because there's a couple of facilities that didn't want us anymore, but that's something we're gonna do at a later date, once we find somewhere to go.
Good. Let's say, Jackie, you're watching, and would you like to make a comment or ask a question? You don't have to, just glad that you're here. And thank you, Brenda, for asking questions, because those are things that the public really needs to know. Thank you both. If there are no other questions or no other public comments at this time, we can move on our agenda to old business, and I'm not sure that we have
No, ma'am.
old business at this point. We've got lots of new business.
Yes. One thing for the new business, just kind of a mention of it, and you all have it in your packet, is the current, and it will be updated as new information comes out, but there's the flyer that the State Board of Elections has created that is kind of a one sheet, gives you all the information about voter ID. And then attached to that is what they voted or approved yesterday as far as university and government agencies ID that could be used. And I highlighted on there, we have ECU's ID for both student and staff was approved, and also Pitt County government. So our government badges, we could use those as well. So we'll train our poll workers on that. That doesn't have to be just a driver's license, could be those, or could be other things. I included a screenshot or a capture of a sample idea of what it's going to look like. It does look different than it did before. Actually, I think it looks better. The one we had several years ago was.
That's if they get one from the Board of
That's if they get
Elections.
one from us. Mhm. And that will be free, just like what they could get through the DMV currently. They can go there. They do need to always harp on this, do need to state that it's for voting purposes. Otherwise, they may get charged that $14 fee for a non-operator's ID. But as long as they state it's for voting purposes, they're not supposed to charge them.
So if they go, just a point of clarification, they get the same card if they go to DMV, or it's a different card, a driver that says voter identification only.
They'll get a card that should look like their driver's license. It'll just have, I think, non-operator's ID on it. That's what it used to be on there.
Or like a normal ID.
Yeah. Well, I just want to move then.
And that brings, earlier when we were looking at doing this, we got all the camera equipment,
Mhm.
and we were doing it in that little tiny room that's off from the driveway. In this,
Oh, in the print shop.
yes, yes.
Mhm.
Is
Yeah.
that also where they're going to be
No,
done?
it'll go with us. We're working on our county MIS and state board are working on a printer issue we have now. The printer is there. It works. It'll spit things out. I've actually had stuff come out that had been stored in the cache. But the computer, for some reason, the same computer it was connected to the last time, it's not finding it. I think it's a software issue because they had to update software.
Okay.
So they're working on that now with the idea to hopefully, the state board has said that this weekend, the program that we use, it's an online part of the cloud, just like everything else we're using. It's supposed to go live this weekend. So my hope is we can get that printer resolved, or if we need to, get a new one and be
Okay.
ready by next week, which the day we move, our office will be closed anyway. So, yeah.
Right, so the equipment, so someplace in our space.
In our
which is
office, mhm.
Bigger, but will be where the pictures can be taken if somebody wants to get one from the Board of Elections instead of DMV.
Mhm. What we'll have to do, because they haven't installed the teller window in our space yet, from talking with Buildings and Grounds, they say that's going to be much easier to do once we get the doors in and such and get all that taken care of. Then they'll do the teller window. It's sitting there in their shop. But once we get that in place, we can just install the camera there. So the individual could just stand there. We can take the picture and give them their ID. For the time being, we'll probably have them come into like the conference room where we can have a clear wall without anything behind it.
Sure, okay, good. You didn't smile in this photo, I did.
Because I was having my picture taken. Only time you see me smiling in a picture is if they surprise me.
Gotcha. All right,
And other than that update, we have the one-stop plan. I mentioned to you all in the email some of the
Yeah.
where it's different for this year and for the public, where it's different in odd numbered years than even numbered years. Odd numbered years, the requirements are that it has to be at a minimum the same hours as the office. So
Right.
for us, weekdays 8 to 5, and that last Saturday from 8 to 3. You can't expand beyond that. Well, that's what we've done in the past, expanded it to 6 o'clock to try and hit some after work folks. And we, through our municipal agreements, we have to have 2 sites, and we're going to have to revamp it after this year because of the change in laws and the memorandums that were released. But we have to have 2 sites at a minimum based on the municipal agreements, because all the municipalities share the expenses of those 2 proportionally based on their registration. And then if any municipality wants to request to host a site, they assume the full expense of that. So
Mhm.
Greenville has requested 2, Winterville has requested 1. So essentially like what we've had in previous
They
years.
all would be open the same hours.
What we generally do is we'll open one site and it'll be open for the entire time. And then to save money for the municipalities. And that's kind of what Greenville and Winterville are kind of expecting and counting on, that it's just that last week. Turnout, I think what is maybe 5% at most, one stop wise. So it seems to have worked in the past, having one site open the entire time. And where it would make more sense for us to have the Alice Keene site open the entire time based on the memorandum, where it has to be within 4 miles or a 10-minute drive from the office, it's outside of that boundary. So that's where we would do. This is what we did in 21. We had it at the county office site.
Right, so the Pat's office building where we've been all these years, that will be
That
the
was
one.
Even
That's
when
the
we
closest.
relocate, it's just 2 miles away.
Yeah.
So it's within that distance.
Yeah.
And Dawn
so-
has confirmed all 5 sites for those dates, times to set up and everything.
Good.
Alice Keene will go ahead and be in the conference room since it's such a small election,
Mhm.
but she made it clear to them next year is bigger. We can't be in a conference room. Yeah,
Okay.
so.
Are there suggested the extra sites that Greenville wants and Winterville?
They didn't suggest it, name any sites. Winterville just kind of assumed that it would be their community center. Greenville didn't really, pick any, didn't
So-
recommend any.
So we need to find 2 sites to meet Greenville's needs.
Well, I have, what we've done before is have the county office building, the Pats, open the entire time as our main site.
Right.
Weekdays 8 to 6, that last Saturday, 8 to 3. And then the 4 other sites would be the Ag Center, the Center at Alice Keene Park, Student Center, and the Winterville Fire Station. And those will be open that last week during the week from 8 to 6, and that last Saturday, 8 to 3.
Okay.
And that is consistent with the sites we had last year and that we've used for a while, so the voters know where we go. And I'll interject there a thing that Rachel Lee has designed, a wait time that we're going to be putting on. We were testing with the candidate filing where it's live as we enter the information. It's out there. Well, she's created a wait time where we're going to put that on our webpage once One Stop opens. And as long as the site managers record their time, how often do we say, every hour or so? Yeah, then it will update like that, and you could just go to the webpage and see which one has the shortest line and go there.
That's a great idea. Thank you. Okay, that's okay. We're all in the same business.
Yes. So hopefully that'll take some pressure off Alice Keene, for these other sites where they're just sitting there waiting for voters.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
But that's essentially what we're recommending. Just because it's consistent with what we've done in the past. If there are any additional hours, weekends, what have you, we can knock that out too.
Wonderful.
Next year might be different.
Well, next year is going to be different. I think we know. All presidential elections are always different, so. This is a good start. Do we need to
Make a motion,
Make it-
and
yes.
you all can review. I drafted up what we've done before with the dates. One Stop, actually, the first day is October 19th. And the 4 other sites for that last week would open on October 30th. And then all of them would close that last Friday, November 4th.
Right. Would you like to make,
I saw it. I know that I'd seen this previously.
would you like to make the emotion? One of you make the.
Yeah.
Go ahead and,
I think ultimately what our board has done over the past few years is tried to maintain consistency. So I certainly think that's
right,
given the expectation of what has been open in the past will be open at the same time. So I certainly think that I would make a motion to adopt the plan as provided.
With that being an increase or a major decrease in voter participation at this point in time, I would therefore second that motion.
all right, there's a motion and
I have a question. Which Saturday are all 4 sites, all 5 sites going to be open?
That very last Saturday, November 4th.
November 4th. And in the week. That week. So there will be 6 days of early voting.
Yes, for those last sites, there'll be 6 days, and then for Pat's 11, 13.
13.
Is that right?
13 days.
Yeah, yes, 13.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you for the staff for all of the preparation and work. It's wonderful.
Yeah, Dawn had to do a little bit of chasing on this because just like our office and other county offices, these facilities have had a lot of turnover too. So trying to find the right person.
To talk to
Yeah.
for approval, yeah.
And we had mentioned at one point about EPS, but I didn't, after talking with Parks and Rec about election day there, confirming that site. Oh, just during the course of the conversation, they're still finishing things up there, doing things. Parking's kind of an issue right now. He said it's going to get better. I didn't even bring it up, just thinking, we'll hit them up next year when they're all done, but
Yeah.
Pat's should be sufficient for this year.
Well, that's been a solid site for a long time and people know where it is and that will be great once they get through all of that construction and all those changes, but
Yeah. We used it in 2020 and it was a very popular site.
Do you want us to sign this copy?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right, are there any other issues from the staff that we need to approve in order to make sure municipal elections go well?
Not at this time. As I mentioned, there's two polling places I know we're gonna have to relocate. The biggest one that was a shock to me is 1507, where it has been at St. James for years, but they've said that they no longer want to serve as a polling place. So we're trying to, it's a huge, geographically, it's a huge precinct.
Yeah,
And also registration wise, because it covers all of main campus. So we're gonna have to try and figure out a good place to go that's kind of centrally located, because it goes all the way from the edge of main campus out to Memorial or to Greenville Boulevard.
yeah,
So it's a huge stretch
It
there to
is.
try and catch everybody.
and it's a lot of people. Back in the old days, it was a lot of farmland out there, which
Yeah.
no longer exists. So it's a lot.
There is an option. I wouldn't recommend it. Talking to one of my contacts at the state board, because it would. You could actually have two different precincts vote at the same polling place. So we could use Presbyterian 7B that's confirmed, everything's okay. It's a good sized room. But the problem there is directing voters, because you still have to keep them separate.
Separate.
1507 votes over on this side, 1507B on this side. And, just trying to, I could see lines backing up, just trying to figure out which one should the voter go to. So we're going to try first and see if we can find somewhere else to
Well,
go.
didn't St. Peter's help us out?
They are actually in precinct 8B. So that would be, they're on my list to talk to. But that would be the approval also for some other sites like we have for 10B and Simpson A that are outside of the precinct. So this
Right.
would be one of those where, we could do that just with that approval. You all would approve it out of precinct. Just a matter of talking with them. They seemed happy to have us because it was
Yeah,
in
they were a
2020.
big help the last time.
Yes, they seemed happy and it was a nice space. I visited there, I think a couple times election day, and the workers loved it too.
Yeah. Well,
Always go to
I'm just,
That crossed my mind too. But I wasn't sure what voters would think.
Save that for next year.
yeah, they do have a nice big space there.
Mhm.
So,
Might not be used.
all right. Any other issues with the voting? I sent out an email that had come my way to everybody regarding some of the proposed changes. The bills have not been approved, so there's no legal challenge to any of them. But there are some that I do think may prove to be difficult, particularly for our poll workers. And I think you all received the letter that Graham County put together. And I will say all the groups, there was not a party or partisan approach to it, which to me is the way it should be. And I wanted to find out if this board would want to make a similar statement as Graham County of our concern. I think the biggest concern is having poll observers, either regardless of who they are, with cameras taking videos and photographs and questioning our regular poll workers instead of our current procedures to go to a chief judge.
And that's Senate Bill 747, made it
Yeah.
through Senate. Now it's over at
Yeah.
House.
I'm a
And when I
little,
looked yesterday, I had kind of heard a little bit that it might be in committee this week, but I haven't seen it on the calendar anywhere.
yeah, and I'm a little concerned on politicizing your position or the Board of Elections by having the county commissioners hire and fire that since they are elected through this system, it may not be a problem,
Yeah.
but the perception is a problem for me. To keep it from out of being hired and fired by people who were elected, our local politicians, as it were, is I find problematic.
And that one's Senate 749, and it
Yes.
likewise is. the
I
Red
think
House.
there were three. There are a number of others, but those two particular issues were of concern to me, but particularly the poll workers.
The one, let's see, the first one is 7, I got the numbers wrong, but one of these bills would allow up to 12 people to be in the polling place,
Yeah, at one time.
roaming around at one time, and they could have, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, they could have audio,
Record.
recorded, video recording. They can't, I don't think they can take a picture of the person. They're certainly not supposed to be taking a picture of the ballot,
That's right.
but
They could photograph our people like you worked in a poll. Somebody came in and wanted to take your picture while you were doing registration and all.
or listen to the record the conversations. Now, right now, what we have is each party has the right to have a polling observer within the voting complex.
You can have up to two
Two,
assigned, and then the state party is allowed to have
Roaming,
at large.
roaming at
And so
large.
you could have so you could ultimately of one party have 3 in there. So of the two major parties, at most 6 right now, which.
But they're
never
not,
happens.
but the present rule does not allow them to be recording information. They can only be observing. They can't
That's
talk
correct.
to the voters. They can't move all around and see how they're voting. They are
and they can't
strictly
talk
as
to
an
the
observer,
workers
That's my
except the
understanding.
judge. Yes.
yeah, as an observer. And
And that's part of it. The concern on the director side is the inclusion in there that if they bar an observer from doing anything, that it's a misdemeanor. So that's going to
so
scare
they,
some
they
people.
have
That was
no
an ugly
oversight that
threat.
Yeah.
the people that are the chief judge and the judge and the people that are working there at the polls have no responsibility. They can do nothing. Whatever these people do, they can do nothing.
They'll have things that they can tell them that they can and can't do. You know, like if they're trying to take a picture of a ballot, you can't
Oh,
do
yeah.
that, or interact with the voters, can't do that. But I can see that fear of where is the line before
Right.
somebody comes along and says, I've created, you know.
In a sense, well, I don't know. We have a rule now that electioneering has to be outside 50 feet. And in some ways, this may be counteracting that. Now you've got up to 12 people in the polling place itself, walking around listening to the conversations. I don't know, that concerns me a little bit.
I think it
And
would hinder the workers. from
well,
being
almost,
able to-
I think it makes the workers very nervous because, you know, they're supposed to kind of oversee. And yet you've got this rule that says it's a misdemeanor if they try to,
Yeah.
I don't know, I think
If
that,
I wouldn't
and
be
some of these
charged.
places
Poll worker.
that we vote, some places are small. If you put 12 more people in there,
Oh, in the Pat Center.
uh,
In the Pat Center, that's a small room. It's adequate for what we use it for. But if you put 12 observers in the Pat Center room,
It would actually, most of our
It would-
one stop and election day, they would probably outnumber our poll workers.
I honestly think it would violate the fire regulation of how many people could be in the room.
That's a consideration too. I hadn't.
but I think to me, a more important issue here is having that many people roaming around in the polling place, in the voting place itself.
Mhm.
Now, Dave, did you say that the directors have already voiced a position at this point in time?
They, through the association, it was more geared towards 749 as far as the appointment of directors and board members and all that. But directors are spreading the word to their board members because the board association has a bipartisan submitted a letter to the
Right.
General Assembly.
So the board associations already submitted a letter.
Yes.
To every
But
legislator.
ultimately, overseeing the elections in Pitt County is responsibility of Pitt County Board of Elections.
Well, it
I
is.
mean, it's a responsibility for us. And that shifts, I mean, that's another kind of responsibility.
And the letter
I'm
from
nervous
Graham
about.
County looks, it's very similar to the letter from
To
the board.
Yeah, it really is written with the notion of not pulling in politics, but looking at the logistics of the voting process and these issues that we've discussed coming up, and fearing that it would interfere with the voting process and in many ways intimidate poll workers and our poll workers. You know,
I think
we could copy and paste. I've sent out the letter, Graham County's letter. It's well written, as you said. It's almost identical to what the board association did, and every member of all the parties were represented. There were people. I think we're all concerned about the people that look to us in Pitt County. If you're working as a poll worker, to make sure that they're protected and they can do a job without intimidation. And of course, maybe nothing would happen, but the opportunity for something or somebody being a little too zealous in their efforts.
Yeah, and it's just so anybody tuning in, it couldn't happen this year because our elections are nonpartisan,
Right.
and it's only in partisan elections that you can have observers because they're party appointed. So this would begin with the primary of next year.
Yeah.
Had they insinuated that it would be a 12 total with 6 Republican and 6?
I
Democrat
didn't read
next year?
into the law about that, how that would work
I
as
think
far
there
as
would
with,
be 12 from each party.
well, it sounds like
I
12
think you're
total.
invading- I think you're
It sounds
invading-
like 12 total.
But it
yeah.
sounds to me like you're invading people's privacy. You shouldn't, I mean, people shouldn't be
And
reporting
I don't.
my
think they should
conversation with the worker at the
To the
polling place.
voters.
No, I think it's,
And at the end of the day, this, obviously, the laws are geared towards bigger counties. And obviously where we vote, most of the places we vote, 12 would be outrageous, and I would never expect to have 12 people in there, period, ever at one time. It does seem that, Dave, that you would get a lot of phone calls. Because if somebody's doing something, there's any question about whether they're allowed to do it or not, it seems like poll workers would probably hesitate and call you first.
well, yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
Yes, I'll occasionally, thankfully, we've
If you
really
find-
worked with the training of our chief judges and judges. Because earlier on, or several years ago, it was very adversarial. You know, it's like, why are you here? Now everybody's a little bit more relaxed, working with the parties, working with the chief judges, observers. But I still get that occasional call of, can they do this? And I'll get calls from the public, you know, about, I was in there waiting in line this whole time and this guy was just standing there. And so I have to explain it's an observer. So, because
But what if
generally
they
voters
call
are
with
aware
the
of-
recorder? What if a person went in there as a voter and you got there and somebody's got a tape
Somebody's
recorder or
videotaping.
It
video,
does seem to
I
make,
think they would be a
make you
little,
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think that would, I think that would just create more problems that, I don't know what the problem is trying to be solved, but I think that would create more problems than anything it would solve. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I would like our legislators to, before they would vote these things into place, to, I think they need to hear the concerns of people who are more intimately involved in the election process across the state. And we want to add our voices to it. I think they need to know that until you get intimately involved in the voting process, I know for me, you know, I knew just superficially what happened. Until you get into the trenches where you're handling the ballots and people like, and you've had the polling experience, people have no idea of what really goes into it. And I think our legislators have kind of fallen into that. They don't fully understand the rails that we've already built around to protect both the voter and the people working the polls. And I know they're mean well by thinking, well, we're going to make sure that everything is, you're going to have lots of people and we're going to make sure everything is okay. But I don't think they have thought completely through to what that in practice would look like and what it would. the
Well, I
effect it
think
would
by
have.
regulation, we have both parties working, literally working
Yes,
at the
we do.
polls from
That's our
6 o'clock
laws.
to 8 o'clock, and from everything that I have observed, we have very good poll workers, and I think they try to do a very conscientious job. And I don't think we need another layer to see that they do that job. That's mine. Y'all
Yeah.
can speak, but I just think our poll workers have been well trained and they're conscientious. They're trying to do the good job and do the right job. And there may be some mistakes made, but mistakes are made, but
They're
it's,
few and far between, as we've discovered.
I just think adding more people in there that they're not supposed to be overseeing just makes it more complicated.
And I agree with Jeff. If we were in Raleigh or Charlotte and we might have a polling place where 25 people are working. 12 more is a lot, but still it's not overwhelming. But if you're at a small place here, you've got 4 people working. And then you add 12 strangers in there. It's ridiculous.
And then I just think about the voter, well, how are they gonna feel going
Yeah, I
into
think
a
it's
polling place with up to 12 people that would have videos or I know they're not supposed to be taking a picture of the voter or their ballot, but I think this could be intimidating and make some people feel uncomfortable.
Is there a feeling that we would do what Graham County has done and send a letter to the same effect to the legislator?
I would like to reread the letter
Yeah, and Dave,
before I,
I agree with you. Is there it's not in effect, it won't come into effect this
Until next year.
election. So
For
what's
us.
is there an urgency to respond to it?
Well,
So
there
quickly?
are some, because there are 4 types of municipal elections in the state. We're lucky to have the nonpartisan plurality. So it's nonpartisan, of course, but whoever has the most votes, they're the winner. There are some counties that are having partisan primaries and such in September. So I think that's where a lot of the anxiousness is coming from, where it could start this year. For us, it wouldn't until next year, but there's I couldn't even guess the number, but I know there are several counties that have partisan municipal elections where it could come up.
But if it's a,
Well, the thing
Bill, does-
that if they go ahead and pass all these 3 bills, it costs a lot of taxpayer money if they're challenged in court. Heading it off so that the parts that are really concerning, if they are removed from these pending bills, then it would certainly be cheaper for the North Carolina taxpayer, and a lot of unnecessary angst and rhetoric and everything flowing around. I just think if they did it before it ever became a law, it would be beneficial for everybody, including the legislators, actually. You wanted to let's see.
I could do it now, or if you want us to read it and then comment back to you.
we're gonna make a decision as a body, it probably needs to be done in a public.
In a public meeting.
But I think we understand I understand what the bill is.
Right.
And if we wanted a position
I
about
mean-
that, that's what we could state our own wording of what that would be, that we're concerned about. Whatever it is we're concerned about.
Is that the only thing in that bill?
There are several things. Those, to me, were the most onerous items, the things that really bothered me. There are a lot of other things. There's a problem with the photo ID into the absentee ballot. We already have 2 witnesses. That will be a problem. And there is also the buying of signature software. And I can tell you.
Checking signatures,
Signature,
matching
it makes
signatures.
yes, because my husband is 90 years old and he's developed an unintended tremor in his hands. And when he registered to vote in Pitt County, his signature is one way, but it doesn't look anything like it is now. And I find that a problem,
And that,
particularly for older people or people who've become disabled. If somebody's had a stroke.
and that portion of the bill would take effect July of next year. With
Yeah,
the idea to let the state board time to
But
find the hardware and software to get it to the
we'd
county.
have
But
to
we
spend.
use technology to verify that I don't consider myself a writing
We've
expert.
seen some of the signatures. They would be
Also
hard.
signatures.
Right, but I think that somebody's going to have to pay for the technology for that.
And that's a question because the budget hasn't passed the state budget either. So that's kind of left the state board wondering. Or
So-
they have the money to do
So-
it. I would hope so if it's passed in the bill that they would be granted
Right.
the funds.
How
And the
would we
photo
verify-
ID and the absentee ballot, that's fine, except if you don't have a computer and a printer in your own home, you have to pay somebody to make a copy of your ID so that you can do an absentee ballot. And to me, that's a backdoor to an old-fashioned poll tax. It's not much, but it's still, it takes away the freedom of being able to vote without.
You have two
too much
witnesses to an
hindrances.
absentee ballot verifying that this is the person, so, I mean.
Right, and that would remain, there's two signatures.
Oh, that would still remain, yeah, that's my understanding,
Signatures.
just to add that
witnesses.
photo. But we wouldn't have any photo to compare that to and when they come here.
No,
Yeah, I think Dave, for me at least, is I don't feel like I know enough about the purpose, the procedural history, the actual details to say one way or the other. I mean, certainly the main parts, I don't see that we have a problem here in Pitt County, and I don't see how it could do anything but cause more problems. The more people in there, probably the more chance that you get somebody that's belligerent and you get a phone call. However, there's certainly parts that I'm not familiar with. So I think ultimately, I'm not saying I don't I don't want to issue something, but I think it needs more than a cursory review or a copy and paste of somebody else's letter. I think we need to, if we're going to make a statement, I think we need to sit down and take a look at it, because there's certain parts that we may not all agree on. I might
Of
think it's
course.
fine.
Yeah,
So,
well, they don't
just
list
don't know
the
if we can take
entire
it up right
bill, and we did get a copy of, I've read all three of the bills. Line 747 and the
749,
I've read
Yeah.
those too.
and there was one earlier.
There was one.
One
there's
stop.
other one,
One of those does say they can have up to 12 people
right, and the
with
letters.
video, with audio equipment
that's right.
to record what the voters are saying and to the workers.
Thank you.
I think that's an invasion of people's privacy. And I think I think it could be intimidating to the voters. Some people like me, they wouldn't intimidate me. I just tell them, they need to move over. But there are other people for whom that might be intimidating. And I think to put the poll workers in a position of trying to oversee this, I puts them in a precarious position. And I haven't seen, I'm trying to see what the problem is that's trying to be solved by having 12 people in there with videos and audio equipment. I don't know what the problem is.
The
And that hasn't been identified in the bill that I've seen.
the executive director of Raleigh did a really nice breakdown. And that was sent out as well of things that were of particular concern particularly in 747. The provisional ballots for people who are registering and there were several other things. The original letter from the Board of Elections Association didn't list everything in all the bills. They only listed actually the things that we've talked about today. We're like too many people in the poll, the idea that the county commissioners then would take over the responsibility of hiring and firing the staff. And those particular, and the idea that people can go in and take pictures and video and record conversations between a voter and a poll worker as they go in to register. Those were the things that were listed in that, not every, because 747 was many pages long.
Mhm.
There were just lots of,
I would
Thanks.
agree with Jeff. I think we should write our own letter, not copy somebody
and
else's.
that's fine.
My only concern in the time of us getting the time to get the letter done, completed, will we be able to get to the committee and or to our legislature in a timely fashion at this point down the game? With it already saying it's already left one house body to the second house body and just looking at this in committee. You come out, once it comes out of the committee, can hit the floor and vote like that. I don't know if we actually have time to actually get the desired effect to our voice to actually have an effect versus just being,
Well, it's got to go to both houses.
well, it's already left one house. It's already left one house.
It's gone to the-
It's already left,
Okay.
Senate, it's already at the house, and
But
now it's in the committee.
I think,
Yeah,
you know,
I-
I don't know what,
it could.
I don't know, delay,
They
whether
could finish
delaying
it.
your concerns will help or not.
And saying, I don't know if delaying my concerns and or voice my concerns at this point in time. I think the concerns have been brought to the table. Unfortunately, I feel me speaking right now is probably personal, going a little beyond it. I think that right now the political landscape is not doesn't have a ear to hear what I'm saying. That would be my complaints. They have an agenda. The agenda's been set. They're going to try to accomplish the agenda. The only thing we hope is that somewhere along the way it derails itself and or
And
something
something
else.
for-
Yeah, my concern, me voicing my concerns, I voice my concerns. My constituents here that Pitt County know that we have concerns. I think this meeting encapsulates that we have various concerns that the Senate or our legislatures have put on the table for us. I think this may be in itself the proper form for us to do it because we're so late in the game. If that makes
Yes,
more
it-
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it does.
I think that it would be nice if our specific legislators say, hey, this bill's moving forward. We want a letter or position from the Pitt County Board so we can take a position if it hits the table. That would be something that I think had been a lot more appropriate or a pathway that would be to give us more of a voice than just saying something and not being heard. So that's why I guess my silence, don't take my silence for not wanting to participate in this. But I think we're just late to the game.
Right.
Yeah, and I think
That's a
very
valid
well said.
point.
Yeah, but I-
Well, it may be that from a personal responsibility, it's up to me to call the legislators that represent me and say, I have a concern with this. You
Yeah.
know, would you
I just think that, I mean,
address it?
But if this bill passes, this will be the responsibility of this board
I concur.
to deal with that.
Yeah.
We can't say, well, you know,
Sure.
it was late coming in. It will be the responsibility of the Pitt County Board of Elections to address that issue if anything happens.
It's just like any other bills that have been passed or decisions made by the state board that we've had to deal with. I think it's not something they asked us for our opinion before it got passed on us.
And if it's just now coming out, but there are some people that are expressing their concerns.
Yes.
And the question is, how if we have concerns, should we express them? Number one. Number two, what are these concerns? And number three, what is the best way to express these?
And number four, timetable,
Timetable, yeah.
because you say that we need to take more time to review each of these statutes or proposed laws. Get back together, formalize an opinion, get drafted. How long are you gonna give us to do that? Knowing it's already in committee, get the board to vote.
Right,
It's likely to go for a vote within the next 2 weeks.
which is a short time period. Look, I mean, I tend to agree. I think certainly there's some very concerning things with this law. Obviously, when we sit up here, seeing what we see and dealing with every
Yeah,
headache that comes along and watching Dave deal with it. I think certainly there's some things in there that are very concerning. We all have the ability to write a letter individually.
sure.
The question is if we're going to formulate something that you're going to write your name to, sign my name to, and sign your names to, we need to know exactly what it is. That's
Yeah.
right. That's exactly right. And that, to me, my only hesitation is to say, okay, well, I need to be fully informed of what I'm signing my name to, what is in there, what is not. There's certainly some very disturbing parts that raise some concern. But
there
what
might-
else is
Some
there
good
in there?
parts in there.
There
also.
potentially could,
There
right?
may be, I don't, yeah.
Right. So I think Derek, I think you said it right. I think we're running up against a timetable where the only thing that we might be able to do is send it individually. Unless we call some special meeting and formulate something in the meantime, but
Well, I guess the question I would have, how critical is the issue to us at this point that we would feel that the need to, based on what we know, that we feel the need to call a meeting and to address this. And it might be at the meeting we decide to do nothing, but or is this, we're gonna just let it ride by and see what happens? Once it happens, then we're gonna have to deal with whatever happens.
I make this motion then. Members of the board, we all have been given copies of the bills, correct, Dave?
Yes, we have.
Yes. I would say to us that we take an internal timetable to decide review and at a date certain, notify Etzel if we have desire for a call meeting to do so. We notify Etzel when necessary call meeting, and then we have to call meeting, formulate a letter. If enough parties or enough members don't notify Chairwoman Mason in a timely manner, then it's just to address the individual. That'd be my motion at one time. Because
Well, I think that's, okay.
I mean, I think
How
it's
many
that sort of
people,
group
how
that can
many
do.
people you say have to notify Edsel? Number
Majority.
one.
The majority,
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
majority.
so would that
Yeah,
mean
both parties. the
that we would have a
majority.
meeting that all come to?
Right.
We have to at least have a majority notify, or at least 3 individuals, majority notify or make a request for the call meeting to have that reality.
then the second idea though would be what in fact is in the letter. There's certainly could be parts that I have a problem with that you don't have a problem with.
Yeah, I think,
That-
absolutely.
When do we, if we all sign our name, we have to determine and find some way. Does it have to be, it's gotta be, I would assume it has to be unanimous. We all have to sign it.
It has to be unanimous,
Yeah.
So,
Therefore,
I don't know, it's a lot of discussion for sure.
right?
the other part is if the things, as he says, there are things that he doesn't have a problem, things that I have a problem with, he's a company writing his name to, then do we leave that call meeting position of, you know what, you write your letter, write my letter, so be it, and walk away from there. Or I'm gonna make my phone call, you make your phone call.
There's certainly things that we all agree look concerning.
Sure.
I think that's very clear.
But I think, and then I think that needs to be noted that we do have concerns about 12
Well,
people
it's-
being able to walk around in the voting issue, in the voting
Aaron,
area with video and audio capability.
Well, the motion that Derek has made is that we all have been sent copies of the bills that we can review. And if to read them, look them over, make your own
notations.
yes, your own notations. And if you felt that you wanted to have a call meeting, to email me. And then if I get a majority of the board who wants to meet on a special meeting to deal with this issue specifically, then I'll do that. And if I don't get buy-in from the majority of the members, then we will not have a meeting and each will do whatever they're led to
Okay,
do.
what we doing now violating any open meetings law?
No,
No, it would just be a matter of individually who's contacting.
Okay,
Etzel.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying that's okay.
say, I have concern, would you call a special meeting?
And if we have a special meeting, how much notice do we have to have, Dave?
If it's an emergency meeting, you don't have to have any at all, but a called meeting, 48 hours.
48 hours notice?
Dave, quick question. Other than, who else have you, any idea of any other counties are gonna write letters?
I haven't. I
I mean, out of
haven't.
100 counties, we have
One.
one letter.
Thought Wake was,
Yeah, I think there was some mention in that email that maybe some others were.
other counties were too, yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah,
because
state-
it's,
The state
32.
association that's written about it already. Somebody, and you have Graham County, and you have the state election, which are represented state
Right.
elections.
Mhm.
Well, that will come out, I think, through emails. I expect that, at least the stuff that I'm getting,
Mhm.
that some of that will come out if they're,
and the chair of the board association, I think his email address is in that,
yeah.
where you can email and ask, what have you heard from how many others?
I
are
can,
there?
yeah, I can do that.
What about the state board? Have they put out anything?
I think the state board is like the direct, well, the state board themselves, the board members. I don't think they issued anything official.
What I have heard was related to a lot of the organizations that put together and issued letters, not directly from individual counties, but from various organizations. Like, I know that we talked about the county commissioners organization sent a letter as well. So those are.
Oh, did they? Okay,
I see.
okay.
Yeah, through a district meeting that was mentioned at the North NCACC, North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, that
Mhm.
they aren't crazy about it either. It's just something else that another duty they have put on them to have to manage elections.
Okay.
Yeah,
I do, touching on what she said from an organizational standpoint or from organizations, I think state board has been more of, okay, you know, we have to have signature verification. We need the money to do it. I think it's more process trying to figure out, okay, if you're going to do this, you need to think about, we need money, we need manpower, because there's also, they've included in the budget for positions that,
Yeah.
okay, if we're going to do that, we need
It'll
the
take a lot
people
more
to do it
people.
too. So it's been, the state board's been focused more on that.
So let's, we've got Derek's thing, and if we put a date to it that. If I don't hear anything from anybody. By this time next week,
Next Tuesday.
yes. Then. I will not, if I do hear from enough people, then between now and next Tuesday, I will email you. And the rest of the board members saying. We will or we won't.
So at the same time, I guess noon Tuesday.
Whichever. These two
Deadline?
guys, Yeah.
We'll make it work.
all right,
So we would have
That's
a
just
meeting
notice.
on July.
That's-
We're gonna meet
Well,
with
if she,
them.
if she calls a call meeting, if she has a request by next Tuesday, she has to have 48 hours notice to have the meeting. So if she has by Tuesday, we'd have the meeting with that Thursday.
Well, that's what I was thinking. If it's noon, then.
Okay, Thursday, Friday of next week. Thursday, I'm gonna be in Durham.
Okay.
Baseball.
So we would be talking about,
if it's Thursday, we're talking about August 3rd,
Also, that next Thursday.
that's right.
I'd actually have to. ask you
29,
that Friday.
27.
that would be the 27th.
I'd have to ask you to do that Friday. So I know I'm in Durham all day on the 27th.
That's right. So
27th, that would be the
Well, I think that's
potential
kind of
next
at the
meeting.
latest too. Well, I guess coordinating calendars. I was thinking if everybody leaves now and emails you, then we can do 48.
we could do it
hours.
earlier, yes,
Right,
absolutely.
early.
So you could do it as early as what?
Well,
As
depending
before,
on the
yeah.
response,
Huh.
because I think everybody wants to go back and look at those bills. And the one, it takes a while to read through all of it.
So it could be as early as Tuesday, the 25th.
It could be as early as
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Got a problem with that.
Going
That's-
on
that-
to
that-
Bruce,
anytime,
July
27th,
30th.
I'm available.
What's that?
That's
Oh,
also.
no, we could do it before that, otherwise.
Going on a cruise July 30th
You just.
for 7 days.
Oh,
That's.
That's Sunday. You could even on the Sunday.
But this is to see, we got a weekend, and I know people have stuff. Let's look as a tentative, yay or nay, as a tentative date on Tuesday.
Okay, so noon Tuesday.
What if? I'm just trying to think of all the things that we have to do to have a meeting. What if we said? Set the date tentative now, July the 25th, and then if we don't want to meet, I don't know.
Then we won't, right? In other words,
But if you got to get out the notification
then I would need a yay or nay by Friday.
this coming Friday.
Yes,
Okay.
the 21st.
I got something else I got to check on that day, but I'll get Tuesday.
Yeah, so the 25th is moving day. so.
25th is moving day. Well, let's do the 26th.
No, I would, they can adapt. They've been adapting all the time about
Thursday,
that movie stuff.
She has Friday to let her know that we don't want to hear about when. She's giving a head and tentative date that we'll be looking at Wednesday night meeting.
All right.
In case it happens.
All right,
What's that?
Which is point of clarification. Point of clarification is we have till Friday to notify Chairwoman
okay,
Edsel Mason of the desire to have it. If you receive the majority from the
Okay,
board,
we know
our
that.
tentative meeting will be scheduled for that Wednesday for planning
Okay.
purposes.
yeah, and then we can, then we can verify a date.
Mhm.
That makes it simple.
In the meantime.
All right, so the motion is that,
Read the.
that we do our own homework of looking at the information and the bills and making a decision about whether or not you want, as a body, to meet and develop a statement or not.
And that would. Again, we would still go through the process of
Oh,
what
yes.
to include.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
we
yes,
would.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Two lawyers can read it.
And that each of you will do the due diligence and make a decision, and then contact me by Friday, the 21st of whether or not you want to
Meeting
have
to
a
write,
meet.
prepare a letter.
Yes,
Okay. So that would be the sole purpose of that meeting would be to prepare a letter.
yes.
Did you get that, Dave?
Yeah, I was just wondering about the time since, you know. it's
Oh,
like
Friday, what time?
Yeah.
Friday, to what time deadline?
They have to notify me by email. There's no, by 3:00.
3:00.
At 3:00.
That way I can,
Oh, that
'Cause
Friday.
they can let you know and then we can
Then I
set
can
it
send out
for
an
anytime
email.
after 3. After 48 hours.
oh, I can do it earlier. But
That, that works. I mean, as long
3
as
o'clock. All right.
it can't be within 48 hours from that time that you let me
But
know.
we do Friday, 40 hours, still Wednesday, if we're gonna meet Wednesday, we're good.
Me
We're
plan.
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all in favor, say aye.
Read the motion, please, again.
The motion is that we all have copies of the bills, that we are to review them and make a personal decision on whether or not you as an individual want to collectively voice
Right.
concerns through communication to our legislators and have a meeting and to develop that communication or not
And notify Edsel
by 3:00 on the 21st, Friday afternoon, that you either do or you
July the
don't.
21st
Yes.
Yes,
by 12 noon.
3:00. 3:00.
Okay, we're extending the time. Okay, 3:00.
You can do it over lunchtime. It's fine.
Depends on how late you eat lunch.
All right. So,
So the day is Tuesday.
Wednesday will be the day we.
So
meet.
we let you know by this
by
Friday,
this Friday,
3 p.m.
that's right,
that we would have a meeting on,
that you either want to or don't want to.
and
have
then the
it.
meeting would be on July.
Well, we'll decide that because it looks like it may be Wednesday. Well, first of all, there's no need to go through the machinations of a meeting if most of you don't want to meet.
No, but we
Then
would
we'll
have
just
to,
do it
we
ourselves.
can't just
Yeah.
call a meeting on the spur of the moment.
Right, we have the 48-hour notice, so
We have
right
to
now,
have 48-hour notice,
and with the move taking place on Tuesday, the earliest we can meet be Wednesday.
right?
Is that 48 hours?
Just 48 hours.
There would be 48 hours for the public. All right,
All right.
does everybody,
It's actually 96.
does everybody understand the motion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, thank you. Is there any other business to come before the board
Well,
at this point?
that, you're talking about meeting on Wednesday. What, did you want to do like 4:30?
Um,
If
You
enough,
can you can put it tentatively down because I'll let you know. I mean, you're gonna be on the email loop too, and Rachel will as well. In case
Wednesday
you
would
your
be the
ears and
26th.
boxes,
Wednesday would be the 26th.
Yes, ma'am.
yes,
and that everybody's free, I think, or can be.
We'll
I
make it
think it
work.
sounds
Right.
like.
okay,
It would be at 4:30, right, if we meet, right?
probably.
Probably.
I think
Accommodate
I can
these
go ahead and
lawyers.
draft that. So if I get the word go, I can just send.
There we
Okay,
go.
okay.
Mhm, I got
So,
all these notes. I hope I can read them. when I get there.
Is there any other business to come before the board? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Thank you.
April.